Marissa Tomei was born in Brooklyn, New York, to a household with Italian ancestry. However, she was raised in an exceedingly diverse neighborhood. Initially, her ethnicity was not a significant aspect of her identity, as she had peers from various backgrounds. The casting of her as Mona Lisa Vito resolved Marissa's inquiry, at least in the public's consciousness. A fast-talking Italian-American, the antithesis of Joe Pesci, portrays My Cousin Vinny. Marissa and her parents were somewhat disoriented by the performance, which was a breakout performance, although it may have appeared out of character at the time. Vinny, my cousin, emerged victorious. Oscar and Marissa were present. In addition, she initiated her professional career today. She is one of the most recognizable Italian Americans in Hollywood, a role that she fully relishes. Both sides of Marissa Tomei's family lineage originate in Italy. However, she had a limited understanding of her ancestry. We commenced with her maternal great-grandfather, Giacomo Dignoti. Messina was the destination of our investigation. We came across a familiar name at a port in Sicily. This document was essential because it not only identified Marissa's ancestors in a specific location, but also provided the name of her great-great-grandfather, Antonino Dignoti, who would become the central figure in her family's narrative. Antonino was born in the late 1850s and was a carpenter. He was married with 6 children and resided in Messina by the turn of the 20th century. At that time, Sicily was one of the most impoverished regions in Europe, driven by social unrest and starvation. Antonino therefore risked all and departed for America. The odds were piled against him. Upon his arrival, authorities promptly detained him because he only had $10 in his pocket. Antonino, who was over 40 years old upon his arrival in New York, appeared to possess the vitality of a much younger individual. It was not long before he secured employment and, within 8 years, began to relocate his family from Sicily. His wife and all of their offspring had traversed the Atlantic. Their tale is not uncommon among Italian-American families. However, it is no less remarkable. Upon further investigation, we discovered that the Donuts had made significant progress. It is impossible to determine with certainty whether Antonino was abandoned as a neonate. It is also uncertain whether the name is derived from a more distant ancestor. The only information we have is that this branch of Marissa's family tree appears to have originated with a founding child. We have an idea of the child's experiences because Sicily's landscape still preserves evidence of a once excruciatingly common occurrence. Marissa had already been to May's maternal origins. Returning to Sicily, where the paper trail concluded in the 1850s, we were able to extend our research even further by examining her father's side of the family tree. Retta Calvosa, Marissa's grandmother, was born in Brooklyn, where our voyage commenced. She was born in 1918, the offspring of 2 Italian immigrants who were struggling to establish a presence in the United States. Albert, her father, was a garment laborer. Rita passed away at the age of 8. Leftover losses. Albert's narrative had largely gone unnoticed, leaving the family in a state of chaos. We were able to locate it as a result of a clue. The clue was found in his naturalization documents. Calabria is the southernmost region of the Italian peninsula. It has historically been plagued by systemic destitution, much like its neighbor, Sicily. The difficulty of accessing records in this region leaves many Italian Americans with doubts about their Calabrian ancestors. However, we were privileged to have Marissa. We discovered a collection of birth and marriage documents that traced our lineage back to her 3rd great-grandparents and revealed a wealth of information about their lives. A royal chancellor was a government position, and Marissa's 3rd great-grandfather, Carlo Maria Cardu, was a member of the government. The government was led by Ferdinand II, a very potent man and a son of the House of Habsburg, one of Europe's most distinguished royal families. Ferdinand, the ruler of the Kingdom of the Two Sicilies, the greatest kingdom on the Italian peninsula, assumed power in 1830. Don Carlo was a member of his administration. Marissa's family had evidently transcended the destitution that befell so many individuals in Calabria. However, their circumstances were precarious. A surge of revolution engulfed Italy in 1848. Ferdinand II's abrupt perception as a tyrant was prompted by the liberal nationalists' efforts to unify the nation and overthrow its numerous monarchies, which posed an intriguing question. Marissa's disappointment was tangible. However, the narrative was not yet concluded. After more than a decade of conflict, Ferdinand and his allies were unable to suppress the liberal movement in 1861. The Kingdom of the Two Sicilies was incorporated into a unified Italy. By now, we had transported Marissa back 2 generations to Calabria and disclosed the manner in which her ancestors had survived one of the most turbulent periods in Italian history. But we still had a dilemma to solve. How did the descendants of a former chancellor become immigrants in Brooklyn? Simple economics was the response. Unification did not result in prosperity for all. Marissa's progenitors were compelled to immigrate as a result of the Italian government's imposition of protectionist terror in 1887, which was intended to encourage industrial development in the north. However, the policy had a devastating impact on the agrarian economy in the south. Julianne Moore, Marissa's long-standing friend, and she share an identical DNA stretch along her X chromosome. Julianne has no known Italian ancestors, which is surprising. Although every ancestor on Marissa's tree has Italian origins, there is evidence of a hidden diversity that is fully evident and is common to many Italian Americans.